I'm convinced that eating and shitting is political. A few weeks ago, I was in Chennai and walking along Besanagar beach. Not the crowded side with cafes and people taking photos. I had wandered all the way to the fisherman side, and I saw something that made me stop. A fisherman was squatting in the sand, taking a dump. And my first thought was, what the hell? I looked away because it was disgusting. But then I remembered something. I knew that stretch of the beach. I knew he lived in one of the tiny shacks nearby, and I knew something else. He probably did not have a toilet. 5 seconds earlier, I thought I was watching someone make a bad, cheap decision. But now I wasn't sure that he had a choice. And that got me thinking. We like to imagine eating and shitting as the most natural things in the world. Animals do it, babies do it. Nobody teaches you how to feel hungry. But almost everything surrounding those acts is taught. Take toilets. The philosopher Slavoj Žižek has my favorite philosophy joke. He says that you can understand an entire civilization just by looking at its toilets. According to him, German toilets have a little shelf so that your shit lands there before it's flushed. He argues that Germans want to inspect it first and look for illnesses, a rigid, analytical culture. And French toilets make everything disappear immediately, flush it, forget it ever existed. Supposedly a very modern and very progressive attitude. Now, is any of this actually true? Probably not. He's obviously exaggerating, but after hearing the joke, you suddenly realize you've never asked a very obvious question. Who designed toilets? And why do they look the way they do? We assume that they're just toilets. They're natural, obvious. But are they? Think about something even stranger. Why is mud perfectly fine on the ground but disgusting on your bed? Why is hair beautiful on your head but disgusting in your food? The anthropologist Mary Douglas had the answer. Nothing is intrinsically dirty. Something becomes dirty when it's in the wrong place. Disgust is not just biology, it's a way of organizing the world. And then I started thinking about food. Why do some people think eating with their hands is uncivilized, while others think that it's the only proper way to eat? Why does sushi signal sophistication, while street food is treated as ordinary? Pierre Bourdieu, the French sociologist, argued that what we call taste is not just personal, it's social. Your upbringing teaches you what feels refined, what feels cheap, and what feels normal. But who decides what's normal? That's where Michel Foucault enters the story. He argued that power is not just something that politicians have. Power is hidden in ordinary routines. It's in schools that teach children when to eat. It's in cities that decide where public toilets exist or whether public toilets exist. And also in governments that decide who gets clean water, whose neighborhood gets sewage systems, and what counts as good hygiene. In other words, politics doesn't tell you how to digest food, but it does tell you the conditions under which digestion happens. And maybe that's why I can't stop thinking about that fisherman, because I almost reduced his entire life to one disgusting moment. I never stopped to ask why he was there or whether he had other choices. And maybe the real question is not, is eating and shitting political? Maybe the real question is this: how much of what feels completely natural was designed by society before you were even born? Think about Singapore as an example. Lee Kuan Yew didn't just build roads and skyscrapers. He transformed housing, sanitation, education, and public behavior. Over time, those political decisions became habits, those habits became culture, and eventually they became common sense. That is the strange thing about power. Its greatest achievement is not making people obey, it's making its decisions feel like nature. So maybe eating and shitting is not political, but the world in which you eat, the place where you shit. And the reason one person does this business in a bathroom while another person does it on a beach, those were never just natural. And once you see that, it's very difficult to unsee.